Irving Man. Irving Man. Americans who went into this show expecting the Spider-Man they knew were going to be disappointed. No Green Goblins, no Doc Ock, none of the supervillains that they know and love. But those of us who give it a chance are coming to realize that this version has its own special charm. Let's meet Junichi, a little boy who's out grocery shopping. Unfortunately, there are those other little boys who think food shopping is somehow unmanly. And then they push him around for supposedly not doing it right. 2 eggs and a couple of cucumbers are all his family can afford. I would hope that's obvious. So now we have 4 little boys in baseball uniforms playing keep away with Junichi's food. And the leader of this band of bullies is none other than Takuji Yamashiro, Takuya's, aka Spider-Man's, little brother.
Takuji, what are you doing? Takuji!
Hey, you can run away, but you have to go home sometime, and your brother will be waiting for you. Meanwhile, when Takuji dropped the basket, the eggs broke. Takuya sees the boy counting what little money he has left and realizing he can't replace them. But don't worry, since his brother broke them, Takuya will take care of that. And more. Junichi's father died in a car accident, and his mom works long hours for short pay. So to take up the slack, Junichi does the food shopping and cooking so there's a nice meal waiting for her when she gets home. He's really going to be able to surprise her because Takuya bought them more food than he's seen in his kitchen in a very long time. He called it a seizure, but it doesn't look like any actual seizure I've ever seen since he was holding his abdomen in pain. He doesn't want to talk about it right now. He'd rather enjoy his new friend. Takuya leaves just before the boy's mother gets home. Speaking of home...
Takuji! お前たちが今日やったことは一体何だ。
だってさ、純一君、野球もサッカーも何一つできやしないんだぜ。
野球ができることが偉いのか？サッカーが上手いことが立派なのか？
True, he can't play baseball or soccer. Did it ever occur to you and your fellow bullies to ask why? Does it cross your minds that he really wants to do those things, but there's some reason why he literally, physically can't?
それはスポーツができることに越したことはない。しかしそんなことは男としての立派さと何の関係もないんだ。純一君はな、働いて疲れて帰ってくるお母さんのために毎日一生懸命食事を作っている。その心の優しさこそ大事なんだ。わかるか？
うん。拓司、お兄ちゃんの言う通りよ。
I don't know how it is or was in Japan, but this country has a crisis of manhood. Too many guys think you have to be Mr. Macho Rough Tough Cowboy, and if you do things like shop and cook for your mother rather than play sports, you're less of a man. Takuji was starting to buy into that nonsense, and Takuya just put a stop to it. He's right, and we have Shinko backing him up when he says the measure of a man is his heart for others. Maybe you can bench press your 4-door diesel pickup. You think that makes you a man? One good shot to the nads and you're a whimpering little boy again. Lift someone up. Help them get their life in order. Do favors for someone who can't give you anything in return. Do whatever it takes to make someone's life better. That is the measure of a man. Let's let Shinko put the capper on it.
自分より弱い者をいじめるなんて最低な人間のすることよ。
Ooh, let me repeat that so everybody caught it. The most awful thing you can do is bully someone who's weaker than you. Later, Junichi is at a playground trying to swing himself up onto one of the monkey bars. He can't do it.
できた。スパイダーマンだね。僕一度スパイダーマンに会いたかったんだ。
どうして？
スパイダーマンは強いからさ。
君だって強いじゃないか。
ダメだよ僕。
そんなことはない。やる気を起こせば君だってできる。
He can't believe he's standing here talking to Spider-Man. They spend the afternoon playing together, climbing a tree, stuff those other boys would trade their baseballs and gloves and bats and hands and noses to do.
おーい、僕はスパイダーマンと友達になったぞ。本当かい？はい、今一緒に遊んできたんだよ。何がおかしいんだい？そんなことを信じられるか。バカバカしいよ、行こうぜ。嘘つき、嘘つき、嘘つき。
I don't know what he expected. He runs up to the very boys who have been harassing him and tells them he's been playing with Spider-Man and just expects them to believe him. But one of those boys is remembering what his brother told him. Takuji stops, goes back to Junichi and says, I believe you. He's had monsters come after his sister. He should be willing to believe almost anything.
どうしたんだよ。誰か来てくれ。誰か。
Takuya gets word that Junichi is in the hospital and he's there as fast as his racing bike can take him. We learn that the boy has a hole in his heart. It requires surgery, but his father's sudden death threw everything into a tizzy.
スパイダーマン。スパイダーマン。スパイダーマン。また遊んでね、スパイダーマン。
スパイダーマン、何のことでしょう。
さあ。
I'm afraid Spider-Man can't come out and play right now. No, he doesn't have homework. He can't tell you why. Takuya has to go right before Shinko and Takuji arrive. When they open the door to the hospital room, there's a surprise waiting, a note.
純一君、手術の時必ず君を訪ねる。だから元気になってくれ。スパイダーマン。
やったー。
Junichi's surgery is tomorrow, and Spider-Man promised he'll be there for it. Junichi's ready to face anything now. Meanwhile, Shinko is calling Hirami.
スパイダーマンが？そう、スパイダーマンと心臓病の少年の友情。いい話でしょ。特ダネ間違いなしよ。
スパイダーマン？
今週発売の一面記事になると思うんですけど、もちろん私が撮った写真入りで。
She thinks Spider-Man befriending a sick little boy is a great human interest story. Her editor is more interested in knowing where Spider-Man will be at a particular time so she can set a trap for him. The day of the surgery, Spider-Man is scooting along in that weird way that he runs all crouched down, ready to meet his promise.
彼女はなぜここに？
Too bad his bracelet is revealing that there are birdmen everywhere, and it's clear the Iron Cross Army knows about this appointment. He's running out of time. They're ready to take Junichi to surgery. The boy will go with tears streaming down his cheeks because Spider-Man didn't show. Takuji has decided Spider-Man is a phony who doesn't keep his word. I see. As opposed to a bully who jumps to conclusions whether he knows what he's talking about or not. Spider-Man is doing his best, but the Iron Cross Army has every possible way to the hospital blocked. He says, I don't dare start a ruckus with them right now because it'll interfere with the boy's surgery. I disagree. If Junichi can look out the window and see Spider-Man fighting a bunch of bad guys, his absence just might make a little more sense and he can go into surgery with a better attitude. Takuya never thinks of these things, which is why I maintain that he needs me as his sidekick. Can you picture it? Spider-Man and Tubby, the ultimate fighting team. He ends up having to disappoint the boy. He's making a paper airplane to throw through the window and explain himself when he discovers that the day isn't a total loss.
スパイダーマンは必ず来る。見つけ出したら一斉に撃つのよ。
週刊ウーマンの編集長吉田彩子、なぜここに？アマゾネス、今はっきりと正体を見た。
That's right, his girlfriend's editor is the Amazoness in disguise. We won't see any major follow-up today, but it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in upcoming episodes. By the way, I maintain that everybody needs to be good at something. Spider-Man is good at making paper airplanes.
スパイダーマンからよ。
え？
The note says he's sorry he couldn't make it, but he'll do his best to be there when Junichi wakes up. Shinko and Takuji will run to catch up, but Junichi is already asleep. At least when he wakes up, he'll know his new friend didn't abandon him.
何だ約束よ。笑わせないでよ。
スパイダーマシン GP7。
When he called for the car, I assumed he intended to follow her. Nope, he's going to cut her off and confront her right out there in the street.
鉄十字団アマゾネス。今さらとぼけてもダメだ。私はとうとうお前の正体を見破った。
He expected her to do what? And now that he's let her know he's on to her identity, what does he plan to do with her? As far as I can tell, he didn't think that far ahead. Now he's dodging bullets, bombs, and you name it, because here comes the latest machine gun.
キラー一角銃。
Killer unicorn, eh? Funny unicorn, it has two horns, they're side by side, and they shoot bombs. Maybe if the original unicorns had had that, they'd still be around.
Machine gun,
Spider-Man will call Marveler and change it to Leopardon, but he doesn't have time for an elaborate dance today. He needs to get to the hospital.
レパトンソードピッカー。
We didn't do the arc turn today. I told you he was in a hurry. Or else that thing on his forehead that goes flying at his enemies is in the dishwasher.
純一君、純一君、純一君、純一君。
約束通り来てくれたんだね。
He'll stay outside, cling to the wall, and talk to you through the window, because after his encounter with the Iron Cross Army, there's no telling what kinds of diseases he was exposed to, including stupidity. I make it a point not to watch these entire series ahead of time. I like to be surprised, especially with a show like this that I'm not familiar with. So I don't know yet how his knowing the Amazoness' secret identity is going to change the dynamic. But I have noticed that unlike lots of other Spider-Man shows that we've seen, this one has some continuity. So I don't doubt it'll come into play soon. Who knows? Maybe he can convince her to switch sides and they can get married. Nah.
闇深く響く地獄の足音模様の下眠る父よ
And the plays out in upcoming episode. I can say that. His knowing the Amazoness' secret